and welcome to Mike Drops the Mic. I'm Mike Lyman. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Lanny Bassham. Lanny has quite an impressive resume that includes world shooting champion, Olympic gold medalist shooting. He is an author, he's a shooting coach, he's a motivational speaker, and he's also president of the Mental Management System. Lanny, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
We're hanging in there. So I have read both of your books. Well, you've written multiple books, but I have read these two, Freedom Flight by Lanny Bassham, and this one, With Winning in Mind. Now, in this book, With Winning in Mind, you mentioned at the beginning of the book that growing up, you were not the strongest kid, you were not the fastest kid, you're not the most athletic kid, and yet you're an Olympic champion. You said that for shooting, all you had to do to be successful was stand still, which is a lot easier said than done. Mm-hmm. So growing up, how did you get involved with shooting?
Well, I wasn't just not the best athlete. I was arguably the worst athlete in school. I mean, I was slow, short, and uncoordinated. So all the things that people that are in sports that you have in school, that you don't want that guy. And so, but we were studying the Olympics in school, about sixth grade, and teacher makes a statement in class, you know, it's possible somebody in this class could be Olympic champion someday. I wonder, do you have the best chance? And this little boy next to me, he jumps right up and says, teacher, I don't know who'd have the best chance, but I know for sure who'd have the worst chance, Lanny. And I guess I got involved with shooting because that made me mad. I thought, wait a minute, you know, so I went home and told my parents about it. And my mother took me to the library and checked out some books on Olympians. And so I started reading about it, and I kind of fell in love with this idea of the Olympics. And had no idea that I would ever be in the Olympics, but certainly I understood that a lot of the people in those books had tremendous obstacles to overcome to be able to win a gold medal. And it wasn't long after that somebody invited me to a rifle club meeting, and I had no idea what you did at a rifle club meeting. I mean, it made sense that you probably shot rifles, but I didn't know anything about the sport. We didn't have any guns in the house. And but he explained to me. I asked him, I said, how tall do you have to be a rifle shooter? Because I was kind of short. And he said, oh, that's not important. I said, okay, how strong do you have to be? You know, and he said, well, the rifles aren't that heavy. And so, okay, how fast do you have to be? So, well, you don't understand. You don't have to be strong, tall, or fast. To be the best shooter in the world, all you got to do is stand still. Well, that sounded like a really good sport for me. So that's how I got started. I went to a rifle club meeting and they let me shoot, and I was pretty much hooked after that. And when he told me it was an Olympic sport, I didn't believe him. I said, are you sure? Because none of the books in my library were about rifle shooters. You know, they were about track or swimming or something else. Sure. But that started a journey, and so it ended up good.
And when you talked about just there, when you described how tall do you have to be, how fast do you have to be, how strong do you have to be, that is directly in your book. Hearing you say that, it's exactly, you know, those quotes are directly from With Winning in Mind. So I thought that was very interesting that you said that basically word for word.
This isn't the first time I've done this.
I believe it. And I've, like I talked to you before, I heard you speak, I think, in 2011 in Hermitage, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing opportunity. So in 1976, you won the Olympic gold medal for shooting in Munich, Germany. Right. But in 1972, you took silver, and that was in Montreal.
No, they got them switched. I took the silver in 72 in Munich. And then in 76, I won the gold medal.
Okay, in Montreal.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But either way, so you also mentioned in your book that silver is the best you can do and still lose. So when you got the silver medal, did you feel a sense of accomplishment? Like, hey, you know, I'm still, you know, it's the best I can do. and still lose, or did it motivate you and make you more hungry to try to capture the gold in 76?
Well, don't get me wrong now. I'm not saying that a silver medalist is a loser or anybody's a loser. I'm just telling you that a silver is the very best that you can do and still not win. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Okay.
But a silver, I shot a bad score for me and got a silver medal because I had a mental failure in the Olympics that year. And but looking back on it, that silver medal, even though I was very disappointed that I didn't shoot up to my practice scores and got the silver medal, it was a very important thing that happened to me, because that silver medal made me realize that the reason I wasn't winning was because I needed a mental game. And it started me off on a search to find out how to get one. And I hoped that I could take some kind of course, but back in those days, there were no courses like what we teach today. So I interviewed Olympic gold medalists and world champions that I could get contact with. And if you're an Olympic silver medalist, you have access to Olympic athletes. Even if you don't know them, if you can get their phone number. Back in those days, we had a thing called answering machines. And so we would leave a message on the answering machine. They would call you back. And they were wonderful. They called me back and they told me what they knew about it. And so after a couple of years of doing that, I saw a system to this, and I started running that system, and then I started winning. So that was a great thing. You know, sometimes something happens to you that you're disappointed, but later on you look back on it and you think, I wouldn't change a thing. You know, I'm so glad, because it gave me this business that I've done for 44 years, and I've got my children work with us, and so they like doing this, and so you know, it's been a good ride, and I'm happy. Well, I had a discussion this morning with my son, who's been with us son Troy, who's been with us for about 15 years. And we were talking about, you know, well, why do we do this? And I think in the beginning, I started looking at mental management for me. I wasn't interested in sharing it with anybody. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell anybody about it for a couple of years. It was kind of like my secret weapon. But over the years, we started out working with athletes and Olympic athletes and people like that, and business professionals and all kinds of folks. But today, when I want to change the paradigm, because the way most people don't reach their true potential because they don't know how to think. And there's the information is here. You don't need to dig it out. We know what the essential elements that we know what champions are using and how champions think. And it's no more difficult for you to think that way than thinking the way that you're thinking now, except that most people are thinking like the people that they're around are thinking, and they don't take the time to find out how champions think. And that's exactly what I did. And over the years, we've been refining it. So we can tell you, if you want to reach the top of your potential, whether it be sport or business or academics or whatever it is, we can give you the information that the champions know and seem to follow. And it's not that difficult to do. It's just, first of all, you need to know about it, and then you need to practice it. So it was a game changer for me, and I think it would be a game changer for a lot of people.
I agree.
The book With Winning in Mind introduces some of these concepts, but we have online courses, webinars, all kinds of ways that people can learn and get kind of drill down and make it work for you. And that's really what we do.
So the system that you developed after talking to all these Olympic champions, world champions in 1972 is called the mental management system. And that's what you've been speaking of, that you've been teaching for so long, the things you learned and whatnot. How many Olympic champions, world champions do you think you talked to and left voicemails for?
Oh, how many did I talk to initially?
Yeah, when you in between 1972 and 1976, when you were trying to get your
Oh,
Olympic
I have no idea.
that just tells you how much effort.
I was on the phone. I was on the phone a lot. I mean, just let me just say, I'm I am I regret that I didn't keep good records of that period, because that would have made a terrific book.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that I were talking to, some of those people did a winning after I talked to them. Not that I influenced them all. They influenced me more than anything. I was pretty much just absorbing what they were telling me. But and nobody seemed to have all the answers. But what I saw was a pattern, and a lot of people had the same answer or something so similar to it that I'm sure they might call it another word, but it's the same concept. And I could see that they were thinking enough in a different way than I was thinking, that I just needed to put it all together. And it finally gelled, and I realized that, okay, this is something to move forward with to test it out myself. And the minute that I did that, it launched. I won 3 world titles in the next World Championships. So it was a game changer for me. And then a couple of years of refining it and everything. Then I won a gold medal in the Olympics, and so that never would have happened without that, without the mental game. And of course, back in my day, back in the early 70s, we didn't know. We thought that the mental game was something you had. It like you were almost born with it. It was like part of your DNA or something. You couldn't learn. You couldn't learn it. And so because you couldn't learn it, we weren't trying to learn it. We weren't trying to get better at it. There were no courses or anything like that. So it's that's just ridiculous. Of course you can learn it, but we didn't. We weren't looking for it, and our competitors weren't looking for it. So when I kind of came on the scene with this program, not only did I shoot good enough to win, but I found a way to stay consistent. So I was able to dominate my sport for, I don't know, 4 to 6 years during that period of time.
So when you developed the mental management system and you started talking to these Olympic champions, and as you said, things started to gel together, how did your daily habits change and your daily rituals? How did your lifestyle change? Did you wake up, and obviously you talk about in your book how before you won the Olympic gold medal, you had visualized it so many times in your head that it was just winning it was, of course you want it because you've done it so many times, that repetition of, visualizing before you go out and compete. So was there obviously there was a lot of visualization in that time period, but what other habits changed for you between 1972 and 1976?
Well, I quit. There's a first. Well, I'll just give you a couple of examples. A lot of things changed. I quit trying to win tournaments when I was in a tournament. I stopped thinking about winning. There's a time to think about winning, and it's not while you're competing. A time to think about winning is in training and goal setting and things like that. You can think about winning there, score, outcome. But see, winning and score and outcome is a variable.
Hmm.
So if you're in a tournament and you're changing the way you think based on the score, how you're doing, you'll never have mental consistency. And without mental consistency, you won't have technical consistency. And ask anybody that's in a sport that's got a repetitive task, like a proactive sport, like throwing a pitch in baseball or kicking a field goal in football or shooting a rifle or hitting a golf shot. Those things are repetitive. And if you have any kind of, if you're anything that you can make a constant is a huge advantage. Well, if your thinking process is a variable, you're in trouble. Because if you're altering the way you think based on your score, how the score is building, you're not mentally consistent anymore. Well, I learned that I could create a mental process, a way to think, and steps. And if I would run those steps and then trust that my body would follow along, that I could have mental consistency, and my scores were were higher because I was making fewer mental errors, and I wasn't making errors because my mental process was inconsistent. So that's one of the things that we teach people how to do, and it made a huge difference in what I was able to accomplish.
And in 1976, as I said, you did win the Olympic gold medal in shooting. What was your reaction like when you realized that you had won the gold medal?
Well, it certainly didn't turn out the way I expected it to. My teammate and I, in my sport, you can only take two people to the Olympics in my sport per country. Mm-hmm. And so my teammate was a woman. Back in those days, men and women could compete together in rifle shooting. And as a matter of fact, they still do in college today. But we also have, but anyway, she was a great shooter. And we made the Olympic team together, and we tie. We ended up with the same score when all of the scoring was done, and they had an arbitrary tie-breaking procedure. None of us liked this tie-breaking procedure. It was your last 10 shots. If whoever had the highest last 10 shots won the tiebreaker. And we hated that tiebreaker because it had absolutely nothing to do with your skill level. It was just an arbitrary thing. Well, my last 10 shots were higher than her last 10 shots. So I got the gold medal. She got a silver medal. And I knew what it was like to have a silver medal. And there's a big difference between a silver medal and a gold medal. You know, Olympic gold medal, your Olympic champion, well, Olympic silver medalist, it's a big achievement. But when you tie the gold medalist and you don't get a gold medal, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And so first of all, I was excited that I was Olympic champion, but I felt terrible for her because unless we could get her a duplicate gold medal, then she's going to have a silver tying the gold medalist, and that it's a stupid rule, and it was changed immediately after our Olympics, and I couldn't get her a gold medal. We tried. We actually went through all the processes that we could to make it happen before the award ceremony, because we finished the competition one day, the award ceremony was the next day. And so we actually spent most of the rest of the afternoon and evening trying to see if we could get a duplicate gold medal. It was just not going to happen. And I'm still trying to get Margaret Murdoch a gold medal. I mean, I don't know what else we can do, but it's wrong. Now she's famous. When Bud Greenspan wrote his book, 100 Greatest Moments in Olympic History, he mentions Margaret, And I couldn't get her a duplicate gold medal, but the one thing I could give her is that at the award ceremony, and you have a three-tiered platform, once all the medalists get their medals, then they play the national anthem for the Olympic gold medalist. So what I did is on the first note of the national anthem, I brought her up on the stand with me, and we stood together for the playing of the national anthem. It's the only time in history that's ever happened. And so that story, and Margaret being such a trailblazer for women, got into Bud Greenspan's 100 Greatest Moments in Olympic History, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And that's actually what my next question was going to be about, because there's an iconic photo of you and Margaret both standing on the number one step. And, that's a very selfless thing you did to let her stand up there. But it feels like the way you said it, it's the right thing to do. And somebody with your character, your integrity, I think that's a wonderful gesture that you did. And obviously one of the 100 greatest moments there. It's a beautiful picture, and the way you told that story was pretty incredible. One of the last main questions I wanted to ask you was, in With Winning in Mind, you mentioned a balance of power between the conscious mind, the self-conscious mind, and the self-image. So if someone has an imbalance in one of those aspects in their mind, and obviously this is a tough question and you should definitely read the book to get a more thorough answer, but if there's an imbalance there, how can they work on getting the perfect triad of the conscious mind, self-conscious mind, and self-image?
Well, it just depends on which one is smallest. If let's just say that that the conscious mind, we tend to look at these mental processes as circles, just to have a way to talk about it. And so the bigger the circle, the better you do. And we actually have our clients write out what they think their circles are. They're just trying to say, okay, am I better at skill, which is kind of your subconscious mind's where your skills are. The conscious mind's where your thoughts are. How about the quality of your thoughts? There are helpful and harmful thoughts. Well, if you're, 99% of the time you're thinking helpful thoughts, well, then that circle is going to be pretty big. If you're consistently thinking about what your mental process should be in tournaments, that it should be big. But if you're thinking about beating yourself up or thinking about negative thoughts a lot, then or maybe over trying or overthinking in tournaments, maybe that is smaller. So the self-image is the third one, and self-image is your opinion of yourself and your habits and your attitudes. And there are definitely some attitudes that champions have. And if your attitudes are more like that, believing yourself, being self-reliant, trusting yourself instead of trying in tournaments, being extremely optimistic and extremely positive, and imprinting, understanding that every time you think about, talk about, write about something happening, you improve the probability that it's going to happen to you. And so people tend to beat themselves up, talk about their mistakes, complain all the time without knowing that you're improving the probability what you're complaining about is going to continue. And the top 5% that do 95% of the winning don't do that. If you knew as many top 5%ers as I did, you'd see a real pattern. These guys, they don't complain. They're very optimistic and they're very positive. And they like to be around people that get things done and without complaining about it. And so you start seeing the results of this imprinting, talking about not so much bragging at all, but talking about what you need to do, talking about the solution. Every time you like talk about the self-image, if the self-image needs to be bigger, then every time you think about the solution to a problem, your self-image grows. Every time you think about the problem itself, self-image shrinks. So what champions do is they're constantly thinking about solutions, not the problem itself. Don't think about the problem. Don't talk about the problem. Just okay. You have to think about the problem to know you got one. But okay, what are you going to do about it? What's the solution? And even something that happens to you that's not what you want, that's an opportunity for you to learn something that you desperately need to learn. You're going to have to change something. So what's the solution? What do you want to do about it?
Yeah. That's so important, focusing, like you said, that's what the champions do, focusing on the solutions, not the problems. And like I've mentioned several times, definitely for more of a in-depth look, you can read With Winning in Mind, which talks a lot. I know even just in I think it's actually chapter 4 talks about the circles, which you mentioned. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And trying to learn how to balance the conscious mind's self-conscious and self-image, which is very important. Lanny, one of the last things I want to do is whenever I talk to someone, I do 7 quick questions, which are just short answer questions, which can be related to what we talked about today or just other fun facts about yourself. Is that okay with you?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. My first question is, who do you view as your mentor?
I probably learned more from my wife than anybody.
Okay.
She's taught me. She's been a great partner, and I've learned a lot as far as shooting is concerned, or as far as business. I mean, I've learned more about how to live and how to in my life from as a Christian. Obviously, you learn about Christ, and you read your Bible, and you understand things that you could not understand without it. So it as far as sport was concerned, back when I was active, I had the great honor to live in a time when the best shooters in the world were my teammates in the U.S. So I shot with 3 Olympic champions, 3 world champions, and so I just stood on their shoulders. So obviously they were big mentors. My coach, Bill Pullum, was a great asset. My father. So okay.
The next question I have is, which one of the books that you have written is your favorite?
Well, With Winning in Mind has made a biggest difference in people's lives, because it's been a really good seller since the 3rd edition. By the way, you have the 2nd edition. So the 3rd edition was published in 2011. And I think it's a better book than the 2nd edition. But obviously, I guess Freedom Flight probably is it's a great read. It's just a quick parable book. The book that I'm proud of right now is the Parenting Champions book, because I think in the last couple of years I have felt drawn to try to help parents be better mental coaches to their children while they're still home, and because they're so important, and the way that they talk to their kids, and the way that they can be empowered to do a better job because of some of the principles that we've learned over the years. So I've become very sensitive to what coaches can do about the mental game, and parents can do about it. That this has been a big asset to some of the parents and coaches that we've been working with. So I had to write that book, and I'm glad I got it out. that I don't know. I like them all, but
Yeah,
that's
you're
it.
in some good ones. And like you mentioned about Freedom Flight, I just read that the other day. I sat outside and read it. It's a good, quick read that tells an amazing story about you on a plane and Jack. So
Yeah,
that's that's a great one. And I guess I have to get my hands on volume 3 now from the sounds of it.
yeah,
I have to upgrade from my volume 2.
yeah.
So what about books that you have not written? What's one of your favorite books that you enjoy reading?
Well, one of the books that I really like, that's it's not a new book, but it's not really that old either. It's Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. I thought that was a really good book about his investigation into what makes people better. I thought that was I really enjoyed that book. Um, and it's interesting to see how people uh, are impacted by books that uh, at certain times in their career, as in a sport career, if you're willing to just listen to what other people are recommending, you're probably going to be, sooner or later, you're probably going to get around to some really good books. Now we have a recommended reading list. If you really want to know a list of about, I don't know, 25 of the books that we think are really, really good, if you'll send me an email at lanny@mentalmanagement.com, I'll send you a copy of the reading list, and you can see what we think is really good. I think my son's book, Attainment, is a great book. Troy's book. It talks about 12 elements, 12 ways that the top 5% that do 95% of winning are different than the people that aren't at that level. And he does a great job of explaining that. And that's a fantastic book. But love to send you a reading list. So anybody that would like to have that, will get it right out to them.
I'd like to have that list. So
Yeah,
I'll talk to you about maybe
yeah,
getting that list. I've been reading more lately. So yeah, I definitely like to take you up on that if that's okay.
sure.
My next question. You've traveled all over the world to compete. So what is your favorite city or country that you've traveled to?
Uh, as far as a place to compete, you can't beat Munich, Germany. First of all, it's at the epicenter of international rifle. Switzerland, Germany, those countries, that part of Europe, uh, they have a lot of great shooting ranges, and shooting is very popular there. So as far as that's one of my favorite places, and food's great there. You got the train system, so you can move around, and it's just great. They drive on the right side of the road. It's pretty nice. And Asia's pretty cool too. I mean, it's Korea and Japan, places like that. We've been to really nice places. I've been back when the Soviet Union was in place. We were traveling all over the Russia and Romania and all behind the Iron Curtain, East Germany, and all those places. Very interesting places. But I guess my favorite would probably be Bavaria. That part of the world.
Okay. What is your favorite movie?
Probably the Godfather.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I got three top movies, and they're nothing alike.
Okay.
Wizard of Oz,
Okay.
Godfather, and Forrest Gump.
Oh, I talked to someone, I think the first person I talked to for an interview said Forrest Gump was their favorite movie as well.
It's a perfect movie. I
Classic.
mean,
Yeah.
all three of those movies are perfect. I mean, there's nothing about those movies I would change if I mean, or complain about. I mean, for what they were trying to do, the directors and the actors and editors and all that. As far as I'm concerned, those are flawless movies.
The only problem I have with the Wizard of Oz is the nightmares that were had whenever you see the scarecrow getting the straw pulled out by the flying monkeys.
Yeah.
Used to scare me as a kid.
Oh, well, yeah.
But yeah, all classic movies. The last thing I do want to ask you, if you could give one piece of advice to someone like me in their early 20s, what would you say to them? Whether that be about life, whether that be about developing habits, what would you like to say to someone like that?
Well, the most important decision that you'll ever make is who Jesus is. You need to figure that one out. As far everything else pales in comparison to that, but in as far as mental management is concerned, the thing that I would most like to get people to understand is your ability to understand the importance of learning from your mistakes. That don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making a mistake is not a mental error. Making a mistake and learning from it is a requirement to get better. Making a mistake and not learning from it is stupid. That is a mental error. But so when things don't go well, you should look at it not as winning and losing, but as winning and learning. And I mean, this isn't original with me at all, but the concept of what happens to you in life is not nearly as important as what you do about what happens to you. So I would say that's probably the best advice that I could give anybody at your age is don't be afraid to do something, to try something, and you've got there's go find a dream worth trading your life for. Don't settle for okay. If you're going to do something, do it really well. Find something that you can do that you can do better than almost anybody you know. And like whatever you're passionate about it, well, I can speak 3 languages, and most people can't do that. Okay, or I can play piano, and most of my friends can't do that. Or I can write a book, and most people can't do that. Find something that your self-image will love it when you can do something that is a little cut above what other people do. That would be write a book. Write a book. It's a great. You'll learn a lot about yourself writing a book. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lanny. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
That I've said it 100 times, but I'll say it again. These are 2 excellent reads, Freedom Flight and With Winning in Mind. You can buy them online. You can follow Mental Management System, the system that Lanny developed, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can go on his website. And like he mentioned, he does have webinars, coaching, all kinds of different options. And now he has an email book list. So I will be excited to figure that out. Lanny, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, just if you're interested in learning more about what we do, we do offer a free 20-minute kind of a consultation option. These are the options that you can work with us. So that's free. All you have to do is just, you can send me an email, or you could send an email to info@mentalmanagement or mentalmanagement.com, or to me, Lanny at mentalmanagement.com, and we can set you up with how we, what we offer and how we might be able to help. And I mean, we've got everything from, books, and you can get access to all of the articles that I've written on our Patreon site for like $10 a month. So there's a tremendous amount of information in there for a very, very low amount of money. So and everything from that to having us manage your mental game with you and help you achieve big goals. So it's we're here.
Lots of information, lots of good information, lots of resources. Lanny, I can't thank you enough.
You're my pleasure. God bless you.